everybody. We are back. It is almost 8 o'clock, shy of a couple of minutes. And we're back for our second interview of the night. So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Dominic Stuckey. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. I appreciate you adding the mister. Most people just call me a kid. So, already off to a great start.
Thank you. Nice to meet you too. All
Hey,
right,
nice.
let's kick this off with how you fell in love with this wonderful world that we call wrestling. As we
Uh,
bring it brings people together. You know what I'm saying?
so I like honestly, I fell in hate with it at first because
Ooh, oh, that's
it's
different. Okay.
it was something I was told I could never do. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna prove that I can do this.
Right.
I can be those guys that you see on TV. And then when I was in fifth grade, WrestleMania 24 came to Orlando, and that's where I'm originally from.
Uh-huh.
And it was like right down the street, so like the whole city is like bustling with like all the great stars: Shawn Michaels, Ric Flair, John Cena, Undertaker,
Oh
you
wow.
name it. So when I saw like how WrestleMania could light up a city, I was like, I got to be a part of that one day. That's something that I have to do. And and I would say, fortunately enough for me, I've been lucky enough to like actually keep on wrestling. A lot of people get in it for like a year and go away, but I've been lucky.
Okay, awesome, awesome. Now that you feel lucky, let's go into where did you train? Who were some of your trainers? And what was your thoughts going through that process of training?
All right, so let me open the big book of Dom real quick. Chapter 2. All right, so at first I didn't have a trainer.
Oh,
Uh, if you know Luke Gallows
yes.
from the Bullet Club, so Luke used to own this promotion called Wrestle America.
Okay.
And I saw a Facebook ad asking, did anybody want to be a professional wrestler? And I was like, yes, that's me. I was fresh out of high school.
Hmm.
I'm going to be a wrestler. I didn't know what it meant to actually be a wrestler. I thought, they just put me in the ring and I go. So I get up there, I set up the ring, and he says, anybody that's there with you will train you until it's time for the show to start. So I trained with Gangrel. He's the one who actually taught me how to bump. He
Oh,
didn't tell
okay.
me he didn't tell me that all this wrestling was going to hurt so much. So I'm kind of upset that he didn't give me
He didn't let you
he
know.
didn't he didn't tip me off. And then I started training with a guy here in Georgia who just won the Ted Allen Legend of the Year award,
Oh,
named Iceberg. Then I started training with Luke full time at the Good Brothers Dojo. Then I moved over to Hey Serena, I saw your comment. I'll stop my answer to acknowledge you. Thank you, Serena. Half
she
heart
loves to
because
be acknowledged.
and then my last place of training was the underground with Micah Taylor, who used to be a part of Deep South and OVW, WWE developmental in the mid 2000s. So I've had a lot of opportunities to train with a lot of guys that actually know a lot. Because
Yeah.
Iceberg was in Impact, Luke has obviously been all around the world,
Right,
and then
right.
Mike has been in WWE developmental. So I've been lucky in that regard too.
Awesome, awesome. All right. So now you've been trained, right? How long did
Yes.
that take?
Ooh. Everybody says that you never like finish training, which I will argue that you finish training after a certain while, you can wrestle or not. You never finish learning.
Right.
Uh, I trained for a very long time, about 2 months before my first match, which
Two
isn't long at all.
months.
Yeah.
Wow, that's fast. I heard
Then,
6 months, 8 months. You're like 2 months into it. You're all ready to go.
yeah, like I started training in July of 2016. I had my first match. Actually,
Wow.
not even 2 months. I had my first match in that August. So a month. It wasn't a good match. Let's not go look into it.
All right.
Hopefully, it never sees the light of day again.
Uh huh.
But that's how long it took, but it took a lot longer to find myself as a wrestler.
Okay, so let's talk about that match you had. All right, who was your opponent, and what were some of your thoughts during that whole match? And crowd stuff, like how was the reaction, all that stuff.
So my opponent was some random guy from Alabama. I don't 100% remember his name, which is sad because in Alabama you need a wrestling license. So I should have just read his license. The main thing I remember from the crowd was this is a lot harder than I thought
Right.
because you see like the reactions that John Cena gets, where he gets cheered and booed,
Right.
or Stone Cold always gets cheered, and people say what just because he says what,
Right.
or everybody quotes The Rock.
Right.
And when you're new, no one tells you that no one knows who you are.
Right.
So none of my family showed up because it was in Alabama. It was way away from. It was a long drive from them. None of my friends are there. I'm in a city I've never been to,
Right.
and I'm out there, and I hear the worst thing that you can hear as a wrestler, and that's nothing.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was like, this is the longest 5 minutes of my life. Like, there's so much anxiety because when you get to the back, everybody's like, well, what was that? Did you even go? And that's the one thing you never want to hear from another wrestler. Did your match start?
Right.
Because if you don't hear a clap or a boo or something,
right,
you're really not doing anything. And it was rough. But a lot of my matches early on were like that.
Okay.
So
how did you start to find your niche?
I care a lot about what other people say because I like to research and study and better myself in wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
But what happened was I started to stop caring. And it was around 2018 or 2019. I was wrestling at a fairly full-time, like steady, getting my name out there a little bit. And I was having okay matches. I was learning to work the crowd and everything. And I don't know if you remember Mr. Kennedy, but I would use his rolling fireman scary. That was one of my favorite moves growing up as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's this thing here in Georgia called Dragon Con, where everybody dresses up as a wrestler. And I dressed up as John Cena.
Dragon Con?
Yes.
Oh, is it just wrestling?
Well, it's a lot of things, but most wrestlers dress up as famous wrestlers or famous movie characters, and it's a con show, so it's like Comic-Con, but with wrestling.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
And I dressed up as John Cena, and I called myself Dom Cena. And I hit a bunch of AAs, and I got a good reaction.
Could they see you?
Yeah, I would like to think that they didn't. I would like to think that they felt the presence, but I wasn't actually there.
Uh-huh.
And I did an AA at my next show, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to just do the type of wrestling that I like. And I'm going to be the type of wrestler that I would want to see when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And then hopefully that resonates with people. And it did. People started loving it. Obviously, I didn't just go do John Cena stuff. I stole from a lot of wrestlers. But that's what worked out the most for me because I realized if you keep going by what everybody else tells you to do, and you're trying to be who everybody tells you to be, you're really nobody. So.
Okay. All right. Now you got in your niche. You're wrestling here and there. Tell me about your favorite opponent you've wrestled against and why.
Ooh. This is tough.
Whether it be a good story, good matches, whatever. It's a tough one. A lot of people say, hey, this is a tough question. And it's like, all right, I feel like it's a simple question, not a complex one. And people don't really get stumped. They're like, oh, I got to really think about this question.
Well, it's different when you're like an independent wrestler because, if you're in WB or AEW, you wrestle like the same guy in a storyline for, a couple months. On the indies, I'm wrestling, Georgia's Friday night, Alabama Saturday night, back to Georgia Sunday, or Florida. I don't have time to, constantly build chemistry with somebody over and over again. Now, a few of my favorite opponents that I had instant chemistry with, Dax Anthony, he was my first actual good match that I had.
Okay.
He was the first one people were like, oh wow, Dom can actually wrestle. Bryce Cannon, we have really good chemistry. He's a jerk and I'm a relatively nice guy, so we mix very well. We're oil and water. To be honest with you, there's so many guys that I've had good matches with, or good stories with, or good memories with in the ring, that I could put a lot of guys on that list. So favorite opponent, probably a lot tougher than other wrestlers probably had.
Okay. All right, let's go into who is a wrestler that you want to wrestle that you haven't?
So another quick Dom backstory. I was an amateur wrestler in middle school, and I had a friend named Mark, and that's his actual name, which is hilarious for wrestling. And Mark used to always say, I have a friend named Austin who knows more about wrestling than anybody. He knows more than anybody. Blah, blah, this, blah, blah, that. Austin knows more. So I'm like, all right, cool. Then I get into high school, and Mark is still in the same thing. Oh, Austin knows more. Austin knows more. Austin's going to be a big star one day. WB star. So I'm like, all right, cool. This Austin guy doesn't know more than I do.
Right.
Like, he doesn't love wrestling as much as I do.
Right.
And it's so awesome that it happened. I met Austin.
Okay.
When we were still in high school. And he started training at this place called WWA4. He's a little bit older than I am, so he graduated before I did. Mm-hmm. And WWA4 is this really cool training school here in Georgia ran by A.R. Fox, the great A.R. Fox.
A.R. Fox, right.
So, to cut to the end, Austin ends up becoming Austin Theory.
Oh,
yeah. So
wow.
We trained a little bit
I didn't
together.
see that coming. I really didn't. I'm thinking, Austin, who the hell could this guy be?
We trained a little bit together at under Gallows before he got signed, and we used to go at it like obviously nothing nasty, nothing world ending, nothing that would cause you not to be friends.
Right.
But Gallows used to have to kick us out of the ring because I wasn't quitting until he quit, and you could see it then too, even when we were like in our early 20s, that this guy was going to make it. He was the gold standard for Georgia wrestlers that were our age.
Right.
But we never actually wrestled against each other. We always were on shows together, and we would train against each other, but we never wrestled against each other. So that's one match I would love to have, and that's one that I would love to have in WWE as opposed to like.
I like how you led into that, Austin. I'm like, who could it be?
Well, it's a great story because it's a real story.
It is a great story,
and it's even better that because like our mutual friend's name is Mark.
That's funny. So, how did you leave off on when Austin parted your ways? You guys okay now?
We're solid. It started off rough because like the people we were training with. So I'm a jokester. We had a group chat, and like. They would talk about, Austin Theory is coming to practice. He's going to come train with us. So in the group chat, I changed my name to Austin Theory. I was like, since you guys love talking about him so much, here I am. And I didn't know they were going to add him to the group chat.
Right.
So they add him into the group chat, and then it's like Dominic Stuckey has entered the group chat. I was like, I'm already in the group chat. What is this? So Austin changed his name to mine. And we get
That's a great story.
Yeah, we get to the first day, and everybody's like, Dom hates Austin. Dom just hates Austin. So I'm like, oh, God, he thinks I hate him. And like, I hate him or I'm jealous of him. When really, I just want him to be as successful as possible because that gives me something to shoot for. Like, you need somebody to like be that measuring stick. Like they used to talk about how Triple H was the measuring stick in the ring, or Shawn Michaels. You need somebody to compare yourself to, and that's what Austin was for me. He was a guy that, even though we're the same age, I look up to him because he worked hard, he overcame, and he made it to where he said he was going to go. So like we're good now. I saw him like 2 years ago. Last time I went to Orlando, and he was on Raw. It was like right after the pandemic. But we're good now. But those first few training sessions were rough. We were running other trainees out of the ring. Like people were like, "Well, they've been running for 10 minutes. So when are they gonna be done?" It's never finished.
Out of all the people that I was thinking of, I would never have thought it was Austin you're talking about.
Well, it's not Stone Cold Steve Austin. I can tell you that. He's got a couple decades.
Right, but it could be like you change your name. Like my name's not Papa Dank. You know what I'm saying? My real name. So like I was like, who could it be? I was thinking honestly, I was thinking somebody in AEW.
Well, I hate to tell all of your fans this, but Dominic Stuckey is my real name, so please do not steal my identity.
Don't steal your identity.
But
Copyright.
like our high schools were big rivals in amateur wrestling. But he
Right.
didn't do amateur wrestling. He did powerlifting. So I knew people that he went to school with. I still know people who he went to school with. And we like grew up an hour away from each other.
Okay.
Like when I moved from Florida to Georgia, that's how close we were. And it's crazy because you have Austin Theory, you have Gigi Dolan, who she wrestled here in Georgia with me too when I first got started.
Okay.
You have Aja, the referee on Raw.
Uh-huh.
We're all people that started in Georgia relatively around the same time, and I think we're
Wow.
all. I think Austin, Gigi, and I are all born in the same year, and then Aja's like a year or two older than us.
Oh wow.
So it's like, wow, within an hour you get these 3 WWE employees, and then me, who's a hopeful future WWE employee.
Right.
It's like it's crazy. I had a lot of good people to compare myself to. I think Georgia's just uber talented that way too. They have a lot of great wrestlers here.
All right. Have you had a chance to do like a invite where you know what I mean?
So the unfortunate part is the answer is yes, but what I did, I'm not allowed to talk about it a whole lot.
Okay.
So I can't go into details, but I have worked for Impact. I've done a little bit of work I did work for NWA before Billy Corgan brought it. I actually got kicked out of Impact show once, so it was pretty funny.
You got kicked out like on purpose or part of the show?
No, I got kicked out like on purpose. Like security like threw me out. Like,
oh shit!
They had me thrown out, but it was awesome because like it was one of those signs.
Right.
Impact wasn't a place that I really wanted to wrestle. Like if I wrestled there, cool, whatever.
Right.
But Impact wasn't the show I watched growing up as a kid. It was not WWE.
So after our podcast today, in like a month, it'll be like new recruit Dominic Stuckey in WWE. I'm like, what?
It would be nice. It would be cool. I can't talk about it, but it would be awesome. I've had a chance to be there, and it's overwhelming.
If it happens, just send me a quick note and say, "Hey, I did it, buddy."
I will actually what I want to do is I want to send my middleman a message to tell your middleman.
Oh, there you go. Okay. See, I didn't know that there was a middleman that went to you. I thought my person just messaged you.
No, it was a middleman into a middleman, and then it was awesome because it shows you like how wrestling brings people together. Because if I'm not mistaken, you're from New York.
I'm from Long Island, New York.
Yeah, so I'm from Orlando, Florida, home of Disney World and an okay basketball team. So, like, we're two people that might not have ever spoken to, but we both love wrestling.
Right.
And it wasn't for wrestling.
We wouldn't be talking right now.
Exactly. And I wouldn't have half as many good stories as I do if it wasn't for wrestling. Because if I wasn't a wrestler, me and Austin Theory probably would not be that impressive.
Probably.
It's like Austin who? The Hypothesis? Like
right. Through wrestling, I met this guy Herb Simmons, who's a promoter out in St. Louis area. Right?
Wait, is that the guy that runs Central States Wrestling?
SICW.
Okay, ICW. Because I know one that's in St. Louis.
I'm gonna show you. I should have it here somewhere.
Show me highlights and give me his phone number so I can go wrestle for him.
I'll send you. I'll send Herb your info. He's having this. Where the heck are all my pictures? It's probably in the background. If you look in the background, you see all these legends.
Yes.
They're going to be at the Bruiser Brody Memorial.
Okay.
In May. And like through wrestling and through podcasting and my love for wrestling, just like your love of wrestling, I was able to talk to Barbara Goodish.
Wow.
Now that name, do you know who that is?
Yes. But throw your picture back up, though. Continue your story, but keep your picture up for a second.
Okay.
Continue.
So Barbara is the widow of Bruiser Brody.
Mm-hmm.
And she was on my show. And to meet her and talk to her was like amazing because I just saw her on Dark Side of the Ring, maybe a year ago when I knew about Bruiser Brody, but I didn't know his story. And when I saw that, I'm like, oh, wow, that's terrible. Terrible tragedy, right? But never did I think that here at the time I was working out of Victory Pro Wrestling out here in Long Island, and I wasn't doing streaming. Little did I know I would one day be talking to Barbara, and I'm like, yeah. And then when it actually went through, and I had a chance to talk to her, I was like, man, that was a great moment for me.
See, so I know Barbara and I know the Bruiser story because Iceberg, my original trainer, he was trained in part by Abdullah the Butcher. So I knew the story. I always knew the story, even before the Dark Side of the Ring came out, which is, like you said, a tragic story. And if anybody hasn't seen the episode, they should go see it. Right. The reason I wanted you to keep the graphic up is because, like, I've been lucky enough to actually work with some of these people. So,
good.
Teddy Long,
holla player,
the great Teddy Long. Last year, Teddy Long went up to my mom, and it was the first show my mom has ever went to. And he's like, yeah, your son, he's a good kid. He's a really good wrestler. He has a bright future in this. I was like, well, thank you, Teddy. And then he was like, now get back to work. But Teddy is a guy who has done a lot for me in my career. I see the $1 Million Man. I see the Berserker. I see Cowboy Bob Orton, who I met in Dothan, Alabama. I see Enzo.
Herb has been in the business 50 years, and he is literally friends with all of them. That's why they're all coming to the show.
He is going to be disappointed because I have been on Earth for 25 years, so... And I got half of his list, so I'm doing okay.
Well, some of these people are no longer with us as well. So, like Andre the Giant, we had a good Andre story last night.
See, and I see Stan Hansen too.
Yes, I love Stan Hansen. But I grew up with, like, when I was a real kid, Bob Orton, Bruce Beefcake over in this picture, $1 Million Man, Bushwhacker Luke. So those are like when I was a little kid, I was watching them wrestle. I even remember Barry Horowitz.
I know, that's crazy. That one's so. I started watching wrestling. The first match I ever saw was actually John Cena's debut match against Kurt Angle, which is hilarious because at the time, obviously nobody knew who John Cena was, and I didn't even care. I actually remember the main event from that night better because it was Hogan versus Jericho.
Right.
And then I found out later on that I watched John Cena's debut happen in real time.
Love Jericho.
I see Jericho's one of my big influences as well. And
mine too. I love him.
I have a few funny stories with like wrestlers that I met. Like, I met The Rock's daughter.
Oh, now Ava Raine?
Yes, I met Ava in Orlando before she debuted. And I was just talking, just being normal, casual. I was like, so, like, are you a wrestler, or, like, how did you get into it? And she's like,
you didn't know who she was?
No, I mean, no, you're not going. Well, like,
yeah, who, you're into wrestling? Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah, so I was like, how'd you get into it? She's like, my dad's into wrestling. I was like, is your dad somebody I know? Because, like, I've met a lot of wrestlers, and they'll be like, well, I'm a third-generation wrestler, and it's a dude you never heard of. And I study wrestling. I'm a historian. And they'll be naming guys that, like, wrestled 2 weeks in Timbuktu for $30 in the 1940s. And that's their lineage. But so I'm like, is your dad somebody I know? Like, somebody famous? So she was like, yeah, he's pretty famous. He's promoting a movie. I was like, oh, I have no interest in Hollywood. I'm not big into movies. I like superhero movies, though. And it was the week Black Lightning came out.
Black Adam.
Black Adam, I'm sorry. Like, it was the week Black Adam came out.
Oh, no.
Like, so then somebody else was like, you know who that is? I was like, no. Like, is it somebody I should know? Like, should I go back and get an autograph or a picture? It's like, that's The Rock's daughter. It's like,
oh, so she didn't even tell you who she was.
No, but I assume either A, everybody knows, or B, nobody knows.
Right.
So, like, you just got to keep it low key. You got to keep it casual. Now, next, like, now I feel like an idiot. I felt like an idiot.
You're like, oh shit.
But then I was like, I played it cool though, because now he's gonna be like, yeah, he's not scared. Like, he's not scared. He'll talk to anybody.
You're like, yeah, I'm friends with Austin Theory here, so you know.
Yeah. Well, see, I don't bring that one up because it's like, because like you say that and like people remember the selfie thing. And I was like, yeah, Austin.
It's like you got some great stories, man. Let me tell you.
Well, Luke Gallows once tackled me across his house playing tag. Like, and he's 6'7".
Uh-huh.
And then like later in the night, he like falls asleep on my shoulder, and I'm like ready to go home. It was like 3 a.m. Because when I graduated from high school, the first 3 Christmases I spent after high school, I spent at Luke Gallows' house.
Oh wow.
Because that's when his birthday is, not Christmas, but right before it. So like every Christmas Eve, I'd have to be at his house, and we'd have a great time. And like one time, he like falls asleep on my shoulder. I'm like, I want to go home. It's 3 a.m. Please let me go. And they're like, Nah, he'll be fine. Just let him sleep. And I was like, on my shoulder? This is a big guy. Like, I know people are probably looking at him like, well, Dom looks like a solid 7'4", 500 pounds, maybe from France, maybe not. But I'm 5'10". So Luke is like little, and I'm like, oh, this is a workout right here. And I've had a lot of good stories, some PG, some not PG, so I don't know exactly the extent I can go on your podcast, but I don't want to get canceled.
I don't want you to get canceled either.
I have a good Teddy Long story that I had to tell you like off camera.
Okay.
Yeah,
Hey, listen, I've heard some good ones off camera that I'm not allowed to talk about either.
Right. See, that's where all the best stories are, because like
I know.
People have to remember wrestlers are people too, so like sometimes they just do wild things.
Yeah, so they're having that big show in St. Louis. So, hold on a second. Let me bring this back up. Yeah, the Chase is where this is all happening.
Huh. What day is it?
May. Hold on, I look at my calendar. I just want to make sure I get the right date, because I don't know what happened to my graphic. I had the graphic saved. You can hear the music playing from the thing. May 13th.
I gotta wrestle that day. I have a very big match that day. So
it's a very big event, and Barbara is actually, they have this award, the Sam Muchnick Award. They're giving out to Darla Staggs, who has been a lifelong fan and was able to hang out and know a lot of the wrestlers like Jerry Briscoe, Gino Andre, JJ Dillon, and all that. And her and Barbara are going to come on the show closer to the event with her, talk about it some more. So,
so is it named after the promoter?
I'm sorry. Yeah, Herb's the promoter. Yes.
No, that's what I'm saying. No, it's named after the promoter, Sam Muchnick.
Yes, it's named after Sam Muchnick. They all knew him.
Oh wow.
So they knew him personally. Yes.
I know him from a book. So.
Yeah, so it's a huge event. Huge event. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
So, and like you said, wrestling just brings people together. I was doing an interview with someone else, and Herb saw that interview because he knew her dad. And he messaged me. He's like, hey, you want to talk to me about this and this and this? I'm like, yeah, sure. Sign me up.
Oh, well, see, if I knew I could have messaged you first, we could have did this interview when I was still in high school.
We could have. That's right. But the problem is that I wasn't streaming back then.
Yeah, I looked up into it. I saw that you started streaming right around the pandemic.
I'm going to tell you who I work for when I do my vlogs. And they have a very special guest coming up at the anniversary show. Now, the name is up there, but you know this guy?
Where have I seen him before?
VSK, Impact.
Oh, that's probably where I saw him. I probably saw him before I got kicked out.
Impact. He's in the new NWA.
Yeah, see, I haven't wrestled for the new NWA.
Yeah, he was in an AEW recently.
So that's another place that I haven't really been to. I have a lot of friends that have wrestled, for dark, and
I was about to say, you haven't done a dark match yet?
Actually, no. It'd be something I'd be interested in, just to say that I've done it, but I've never reached out to him about it. Like, I know how, but I hadn't.
Gotcha.
Maybe one day. Even though actually, one more funny wrestler story. Before I got into wrestling,
okay,
I met Matt Hardy at a show, and Matt Hardy was selling pictures, like taking pictures with him on your phone for $10.
Oh, okay.
And I was a broke high school kid. And I was like, I'm not paying $10 to take a picture with Matt Hardy.
Uh-huh.
Matt Hardy, he's not even the best Hardy. So during the entire his entire main event match, I chanted "Let's go Jeff, let's go Jeff, let's go Jeff." And then after the match, Matt ended up taking the picture with me for free.
Oh,
And
okay.
he put it on his Instagram story.
Oh, nice.
And then like a couple months later, it was like, yeah, I bet you still hadn't got that Jeff Hardy photo. Like when I actually became a wrestler, and it just made me laugh so much because I was like, why do you remember that?
That's a good story. You got a lot of great stories. I only asked you I think one question.
I know. I feel bad. I feel like people are gonna be like,
I mean, we could keep going, but I got another interview at 9.
Oh yeah, see, I don't want to run into their time.
But hey, listen, we can always just reschedule and do another one. So
you do a part 2. Wrestlers that hate Dominic.
Part 2. You're gonna message me and say, "Listen, I can't make it. I got signed. Sorry."
Oh no, because if I do get signed, I'm still gonna do the interview and be like, "Hey, so I'm gonna tell that exact same Austin Theory story, but there's gonna be 4 wrestlers from Georgia that all made it to WWE around the same age, rubbing in people's face."
You're gonna add yourself to the list.
Actually, one random fact, because I try to do random facts.
That's good. That's good.
Cody Rhodes is going to go to WrestleMania. And he's going to take on Roman Reigns for the WWE Undisputed title. And years ago, when he first left WWE, he won a championship down here called the Bulletproof Championship. He was the first champion. I was the last champion. I was the last Bulletproof champion. So we have a belt in common. So that means if Cody Rhodes wins the WWE Undisputed Championship this WrestleMania, if my math is correct, 4 years afterwards, I'm going to win the WWE Undisputed Championship.
Okay.
That's been my career arc, following Cody Rhodes.
That's a random fact.
Yeah.
I like to come up with things too. So if you look at the top corner, it says Beyond the Barricade Podcast. Papa Dank. So now that I'm getting more popular, I call myself Big Deal Dinks. So I too come up with stuff.
You got to. It keeps it interesting.
It does. It's so funny because I was at Victory Pro Wrestling, and there's this wrestler named Bobby Orlando. I don't know if you ever heard of him. He's he's in this group called the Shook Crew. You might have heard that through Max Caster. He was in the group before he got signed. Oh yeah. Yeah, but he comes out with like a billy goat, and he calls it Bobby Jr. So I'm doing my blog stuff, and I'm just bullshitting with him, right? And I go, "Oh, they call me Big Deal Danks now." He looks at me, he's like, "That's disturbing."
But I do the same thing, especially randomly in matches, because I used to tell myself, if you see Dominic Stuckey, that name doesn't pop off at you. It's an easy 7 letters by 7 letters, not a whole lot of creativity. Boo to both of my parents for not naming me something cooler.
It's cool name. I like it.
Oh, you're saying that because I'm on the podcast now.
It wasn't because I was looking at your name when I got it, and I'm like, Stuckey. Okay, all right, that's different. All right.
But different and good are not the same word.
Well, mine is Papa Dank, so someone will see it and be like, Papa Dank, what the fuck? Papa Shango? No, that was Mick. Just so you know, that was Mick Foley's reaction. Papa Shango, yeah, I heard of him.
See, at first I was like, okay, so he's either has these mystical evil voodoo powers from Louisiana, or this guy can bench press a truck and is big Papa Dank. So I was like,
I try to work out, so.
See, I was hoping, I was like, what if it's a mixture of both? What if he's shooting black lightning from one hand and he's curling a 75-pound dumbbell? It's the world of wrestling. Anything's possible. My favorite wrestler for a long time was an undead biker cowboy with the power of lightning in life. So I just love wrestling. I love all the possibilities.
Me too. And independent wrestling is very special. Very special.
Oh yeah. You tell me. I just had the first ever I Love You match a couple weeks ago.
Talk about that match.
Well, it was a former tag team partner of mine, and I hope he knows now that I hate him. But I made the money off of it, so I can talk about it.
Uh-huh.
But there's been I Quit matches since
Right.
people have been able to speak like words.
Right.
So millions and millions of years of human history, there's been I Quit matches. There has been Cena versus Orton, just off the top of my head. And I was like, you know what? It's Valentine's Day. This is going to be a massacre. We're going to have an I Love You match in Athens, Georgia, which is one of the craziest wrestling cities I've ever been into because everybody in Athens goes to wrestling shows in bars. So it's 18 and up. There's adult drinks there. And people let you know how they feel. Right. So having to force another grown man to say I love you in front of all these people, they were not happy with me.
Probably not, no.
They were not happy that, I had to break his mind, body, and spirit. I was okay with it because I won. I mean, that's all that matters at the end, isn't it?
That's right. All that matters is that you win. Not the experience.
And then I went through a door, and I signed the door, and I left it for the bar. And it was the famous 40-watt bar that Kurt Cobain used to go to, and he'd write letters to Courtney Love on the wall. Really? So so now on their wall they had an autograph of Dominic Stuckey, and they have Kurt Cobain. So people are, going to get behind that.
That's
I like to think that'll help them out. One of us is a little more famous than the other. Sometimes I have to explain to people who Kurt Cobain is. They already know who Dominic Stuckey is. But it was awesome. I'm not gonna lie, I took a picture next to his autograph because that's history.
That's awesome. Great.
It's music history, and I like a lot of types of music, so can't play our thing. But what are you about to ask?
What? Now you threw me off. What are some of your favorite types of music you like to listen to? Let's go into that.
So I'm one of the same artists. So I like Drake, who's a rapper. I like Picturesque, who's a pop punk band. I like Jessie Reyes, who's like Selena from like the 90s. Like she's a new Latina singer. She's been around for a couple of years.
Oh, okay.
But I just love her voice. I don't relate to any of the music, but I love her voice.
You love her voice?
Yeah, so she can read the dictionary.
I'm going to give you a name who has a lovely voice too. Spanish singer, Rosalia.
Who's Rosalia? I don't know if I've heard of her.
Oh, you look her up. Listen to her. She's got that angelic voice.
Okay. I like 3 Days Grace. They were a rock band when I was a kid. I like Disturbed. I like Lil Wayne. He's like probably my favorite artist of all time. I could go on and on about just random artists. I could just go on and on about random artists, and I don't want to waste up any podcast time.
I'm gonna give you with Rosalie. Let's go back to Rosalia for a second. She's got her own Coke flavor. It's a new flavor that's out now. Yeah, she's good. She's good.
She has to be good.
Good. It's like a strawberry type Coke.
See, I live in Georgia, so I've been to the world of Coke. Like, in Georgia, there's just like certain things you do. Like you go to the world of Coke, you go to Six Flags. I've been lucky enough to meet the two most famous Jimmys from the state. So.
Oh, really?
I met Jimmy Carter when I was in college, and somehow, some way, Jimmy Wang Yang and I are pretty good friends. So,
really?
Yes. We both like basketball. So I think he talks.
That's awesome.
He talks to me, and I'm just like, I'm not going to ruin this. He's a cool guy. I'm not going to ruin this. I don't want him to know that I'm a nerd loser. And I told him, I was like, I remember you from SmackDown vs. Raw 2009.
Right.
So if you ever meet somebody that you look up to, don't tell them you know them from a video game. That does not earn you cool points.
It doesn't work.
No, that's for all the kids that are going to watch this, or adults that watch this too. Just if you meet somebody, just don't tell them what video game you know them from.
That's right. It's not going to work. All right. Tell me about man, I want to ask you so many things, but let's start with this. What we have to go soon.
I'll say we can do a lightning round. I'll keep it one sentence each.
Oh, no, I want to hear this because I'm sure that might be a good one. Tell me about a rib that was played on you and one that you played on someone.
Ribs. So, for one, I've had my ribs broken in a match. So that was probably the worst one played on me.
Ouch.
uh,
That does sound pretty bad.
so I lost a couple teeth years ago. So I still have the space in my teeth, but I can fill it in with a piece of gum.
Right.
So there's this promoter, and he was like, no blood, no violence, no gore, no nothing. It's a very family show. So I told another guy, I was like, hey, just give me a punch, and I'm gonna look at the promoter, I'm gonna spit the gum at him and say it's my tooth. And I do that, and I miss, and it shoots right into his wife's lap.
Oh,
and
no.
She freaks out. She
Really?
freaks out, and this is during a match, and so the whole crowd freaks out. They think, like this dude just like went full on Mike Tyson 1990s on my jaw. So I lay on the ground. I pretend like I'm knocked out. I just cancel the whole match, and the guy's like, "Oh my God, get Dom an ambulance, get Dom something. He needs something. Like, is he okay? Is he okay?" I'm like, "Can I get my gum back?" That was Hubba Bubba. That's not cheap.
Oh, man. It's not cheap.
The worst one that has probably been pulled on me was, as you can see, I have long hair.
Uh-huh.
So,
oh, no.
some people have attempted to, like, cut part of my dreads out. Like, they'll cut a part of my dread
Oh, wow.
and hand it to me after a match. And I've had that happen a couple of times. Where it's like, this is the rudest thing possible. I love my hair. Obviously, I have over 100 dreads, and they grow back. But cutting is bad, but the worst one that ever happened was somebody tied it together when we were in a chin lock.
Right.
So we're in the chin lock. They tie it over their arm. So when I try to get up and run away from them, I immediately yank back to the ground.
Right.
And I'm like, oh man, what just happened? So I'm reaching back there. I'm like, this isn't how it normally feels. It's normally straighter than this. And
you're like, what the hell?
It's this giant knot. I'm like, oh, I hope they didn't record this. I hope for the rest of your life you have to tell this story, and I'll never confirm it except now. But I won't let them know I was on this podcast, and I will tell them, get an episode with you. But I won't let them know they're on this podcast just so they can tell the story, and I can go back and be like, nah, that didn't happen. But it got me because I like took off full speed.
Right.
Like I was ready to hit the ropes. I had hit Mach 20. I thought I was Usain Bolt, and immediately gravity humbled me immediately.
Oh man, that's so terrible. Let's go ahead now. Finish.
No, I was gonna say, and the worst part is too, I couldn't untie it during the match, so I had to like wrestle the rest of the match with like a bad top knot.
Right.
I was like, please, just no pictures. No pictures.
All right, plug away any future appearances that you got coming up.
So I have TV.
Your socials.
So all my social media is They Call Me Dom. Look for inspirational quotes, sometimes funny jokes. I like to think I'm a hilarious person. I'm a professional wrestler, amateur comedian.
Gotcha.
I have MEW Vibe, which we just started going live on the Premier Wrestling Network. We are going to have our first TV taping premiere this Saturday. I just wrestled Dragon Gate's Big Boss Shimizu. So, looking forward to that match because it's a nice, strong style match, and you get to see me fight on behalf of America.
Awesome.
I don't win on behalf of America.
It's
like the World Cup. I'm sorry.
Is that a random fact?
I don't think it was that random when you see how big he was. I think anybody could have saw that. So I have MEW Vibe. I have Classic City, which I'm the MVP of. I'm also the MVP of MEW. I have Pro South in Alabama, which is one of the longest running shows in the state. It's just an amazing show. They run weekly. So if you ever have a Friday night where you're bored, look up Pro South and you'll be entertained. And only thing I would say is instead of plugging my social media like hardcore, I just like to shout out so many like great wrestlers that I've got to wrestle with and train with. I mean, first, let's give it to Austin. I think he's done pretty well for himself.
Yeah, just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. Beat John Cena. We'll go back. Yeah. Shout out to Bryce Cannon and the entire Exotic Youth because they're great wrestlers. Naja Sism, Iceberg, Joe Black, Chip Day. Murder one. I'm going to shout out Gary Lamb too, because Gary Lamb is a guy that hates me, and I just want him to know that I love him so much. So, but and just all the other wrestlers just around the world that are killing it, trying your hardest, just keep doing it. This isn't easy, but somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to get punched in the face for those little Hulksters.
Absolutely.
I mean, they're about 40 now, or however old you are. That's how old the little Hulksters are.
That's right.
But I'm carrying that flag for them. So. I just always like to end off giving love to people that help me propel my career further, because this isn't a game that you win by yourself. It just isn't.
Right.
It just isn't.
Yes, absolutely. All right, now it's time to plug my upcoming stuff. Now, I'll be at my home promotion on April 15th, which is Victory Pro Wrestling, the Blood, Sweat, and 17-year anniversary show.
Oh, wow.
Make sure you go to victoryprowrestling.com to get your tickets and or sponsor wrestler, because sponsorship is very important, Dominic, right?
They are. I actually have sponsorships on my wrestling pants.
There you go.
Yeah.
Very important. Do you recognize anybody on here?
Not without my glasses on. Unfortunately, I have very bad vision. So, that's why they're going to look like, why is he so close to the screen?
Keep your eye on the one on the bottom right with the gold. That's Desmond Cole. He's red hot.
Where does Desmond Cole wrestle out of? Because for some reason I've heard that name before.
He wrestles right here, obviously, in Long Island, New York. He goes to Wrestle Open up in Massachusetts. He's all over New Jersey, and I think he's gone down south as well.
I think I know him from New Jersey through a guy named Tristan Ty, who was MLW talent.
Yes, I know Tristan.
That's how I know him.
I know who he is,
Tristan
but I don't know him.
I've wrestled Tristan too, another phenomenal talent. So shout out Tristan.
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt. And you probably heard of Gabriel Sky too.
Yes, I have.
Another one, another talent, and they're all really close, those guys. And that's going to bring up to this real quick. Now, Desmond, I know really well. And where is he? I'm trying to find. There's Gabriel Sky. Mm-hmm. His next show for Remarkable Wrestling is on April 22nd, where he will be facing, I forgot who he's facing, but he's facing for his championship.
Oh, wow.
So that's that. I will be at the big horror event right here in Queens, New York, with Robbie Rebel. He's coming to hang out with me that day, and that's a big event, obviously, no pun intended, with Cody Rhodes is going to be there, Edge, Charlotte, The Acclaimed, so many to even talk about. Little Andy from Child's Play, he's going to be there, and Christina Ricci as well. Whew. And then followed by Icons of Wrestling, the Spring Fling. I will be there too the following Saturday after that on the 18th of March. That's where the $1 Million Man's going to be.
Oh, wow.
FTR.
I met FTR. Amazing minds.
They're the best tag team as far as I'm concerned right now.
They are the most legitimate tag team that I've seen in a long time. They do so well. And if any of your North talent wants to do a North versus South, I mean, it could be like SEC football. You can come down here and run it. We'll beat you.
There you go.
Right. If I could do one more shout out.
Sure, go ahead. I got one more plug after you.
Yeah, I'm going to shout out Scott Armstrong, because he's been doing a lot for MEW Vibe, like helping us take off. And he has done a lot for me personally, and he is a dude that I bother all the time, nonstop. And yet somehow, some way, he still has time not to strangle me to death. So, because I ask questions all the time.
Right.
All right, let's do this. Final plug. Give it to me big.
Are you ready? It is the season premiere vlog interaction coming soon, featuring the 23/6 YouTube Heavyweight Championship, the most coveted title in all of YouTube. It is defended 23 hours a day, 6 days a week, and we're going to find out what's going on. Is the current champion, the Solution, going to hang on to it, or will he lose it? Plus, all my interactions with all the wrestlers at the event that I was at. And this belt, Dominic, was handcrafted by a Bushman out in the outback in Australia. True story.
Is it made of kangaroo leather?
it might be. But look at that belt. Isn't that a beautiful belt?
Oh, no, that's awesome. A lot of belts, it's not, even in WWE, are not that beautiful. Sometimes they're just squares for some reason.
Yeah, I don't get it either. But yeah, that's what's going on for me. I have more interviews coming next week, but up next will be Scarlett Rose. She's gonna be hanging out with me for a little bit. We'll chat for a little bit. Dominic, thank you for coming on the show. We will definitely reschedule for a follow up.
All right.
I
Come up with your wildest questions.
I asked you one question.
I'm sorry.
Okay. It's all good. It was an entertaining, whatever minutes we had, 49 minutes that we had. But I'm definitely stick around. I want to hear that Teddy Long story. Sorry, audience, but it's just for my ears only.
All right, well, let's go, Rose.
All right, let's go, Rose. Everybody have a good night. Who can't make it, but hopefully you all guys will carry over to the next show, my final show of the night. And stay tuned and make sure you follow Dominic and make sure you like and subscribe. All things Papa Dank, so we can keep on bringing the best talent out there. And who knows, maybe a Hall of Famer will come on one day. I had Tito Santana.
All right, let's see. There you go. One of the greatest Intercontinental champions of all time.
Absolutely. Krista Statlander even did my show.
Who knows? I might be a Hall of Famer.
Well, not if you're in WWE, you can't come on. And that's frowned upon in WWE. Yeah. I got to get special permission. I think I got to go talk to Vince in Connecticut to get, like the blessing, like the Don does in Godfather. I'll do it if I have to. That's what I'll do. If he wants me to, I'll kiss his ass too and join that club. Easy. Whatever we got to do to get talent here.
Easy couple $1,000s right there.
That's right. Everybody have a good night. I'll see you soon, Dominic. We'll talk to you in a second. Everybody else.